Oh, you know what I wanted to ask you? Did you, so clearly you seem to be always conscious of what you're wearing. Has there ever been a time when I I don't know if the opposite is not caring what you wear?
Um, I think I'm always thinking about, I mean, I don't think I can honestly say, even when I'm going to bed and I'm choosing what I want to wear to go to bed, I have to, gotta want to wear it, you
Mm,
know?
hmm.
And I would say in every instance, I gotta want to wear what I'm wearing. If I'm not happy with what I'm wearing, I'm changing.
Mm,
It's like, might be late, whatever. I don't care because for the rest of the day,
mm,
and if there have been instances where it's like I really don't like what I'm wearing today, and just it can really have an impact
mm,
on my mood. And it's a bit of a management struggle to like get past it. It's like
mm,
it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, instinctively, I mean, it's a part of my kind of my way of being is to want to feel have use that as a fun thing to enhance everything else
mhm.
and have fun and then feel good. And yeah, it's something I am conscious about. I would yeah, so no, even every time, at every moment. And I don't think it's a drag because I think most people would think it's a drag, but for me it's fun.
Mhm.
But so that's the huge qualifier. I like it,
Mm,
but I do not proselytize it. I'm a non, be conscious of what you wear proselytizer. That's for me
mhm,
and not for other people. I would never advise other people to be so conscious of that
mhm,
if that was not what they were into and it didn't bring them joy and it wasn't
mhm,
fun.
mhm,
But when people say I don't have any style, that can mean so many things. It can mean I don't, cater to or buy into the idea that I have to have a certain signature, in terms of what I wear. And instead, I'm much more, I guess, conventional,
mhm.
But that even there, to say I don't have style is when people kind of reject style,
Mhm.
there's somehow a style.
That's what I wanted to ask you because I wonder sometimes um if if there is a sometimes a purpose behind not having, like, maybe someone puts effort into looking like they don't care what they look like.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that can happen. Yeah, and then there's also, like the uniform,
Mhm.
the thing like, okay, I know I don't want to occupy, too much of my brain power in what to wear every day. And so the uniform becomes a thing, which I think is awesome. And I
Mhm.
would love to be able to have that ability,
Mhm.
to spend less time thinking through the entire machinations of what I'm going to wear and just like, I wear a white shirt, I wear black pants, I wear these shoes.
Mhm.
Maybe I, mix it up with the socks and I'm
Mhm.
done, like
Yeah.
I think it's cool and really responsible,
Mhm.
as well in terms of like not over consuming as well, and buying into, the changeability of fashion
Mhm.
to renew your wardrobe and
Mhm.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I really respect that kind of discipline,
Mhm.
to be able to commit to something like that,
Yeah.
every day.
It's interesting because I do know, I have a person in my mind that I'm thinking of right now that, like, she when I look at her clothing choices, it seems like she is going specifically for comfort or something, or what she perceives as comfort or whatever. So and it's almost like the fashion part is irrelevant. So she would, like, look at a pair of jeans and say, oh yeah, these are jeans, I need jeans, these are jeans. And so now I'm going to buy the jeans, they seem to fit. All right. And then it doesn't seem like she's like, do how do I look in these jeans? Like, how, it doesn't seem like this is a part of the equation for her.
Okay.
And I find it really interesting. But I also have a theory that that um, she doesn't want to express herself.
That's interesting. I mean, I used to watch that show on TLC, sort of the what not to wear, that show, and I found it fascinating because what often would happen in these in the shows, sort of like the common denominator of them was that people, well, first of all, you don't elect yourself. I think someone like a family member or a friend or whatever um, nominates you to be on the show. And usually it's because they see so much potential in everything you're doing and who you are, but that you have such poor, choice in clothing is actually, bringing you down.
Hmm.
And it's limiting that person from really reaching their full potential. Um, and a lot of the time, when these people go through the process of looking at it, looking at how they dress themselves, there's usually some issues around self-esteem
Mm,
and issues around fear,
mm,
based on lack of self-esteem, which is a kind of defense mechanism. When you kind of underplay and when you downplay or kind of like erase, yourself, it becomes a way to protect yourself from any kind of possibility of of negative feedback.
oh wow.
But that fear is actually what is stopping you, from being who you fully are,
Mm,
and from having the confidence to face the possibility that there are going to be, some times when you're going to get negative feedback, but that, is more about, that's always got something to say about the other person and not about you.
mm,
And so when these people kind of go through that process, and there's like, almost inevitably, when they are taught kind of like what their body shape is and how to accentuate the positive and downplay, the
uh-oh.
spots that you
Hold on. You said
downplay.
accentuate the positive. We got frozen for a second. You said accentuate the positive and what?
Yeah, and then kind of camouflage or downplay, the aspects that you want to, de-emphasize. Once you learn how to do that, and you learn about, what colors look good on you, and what fabrics, hang well on you, and that you like, that you're comfortable in, and you see yourself for the first time, there's that moment of, wow, I've been hiding my light,
Mm-hmm.
under a bushel
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this time.
Yeah.
And you kind of, this sort of connection with the idea of self-love,
Mm.
which is also, bringing all of your, um, possibilities together,
Well.
the power of that, to really be come out with a full expression of yourself that is positive and radiant and really helps spread the gift of who you are to other people. When people see that, it is incredibly emotional and moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes less about this superficial or well, superficial a way of thinking about clothing,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes much more about how we express ourselves and the way we think about
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. Manifests in how we dress ourselves.
Yeah, this is actually this word superficial is a very um interesting way. I use the word interesting so much. It's an interesting way of um characterizing things because I know for some people to put any effort into fashion, they perceive it as a superficial endeavor. And I don't, but I do think that yeah, there may be like that's the way of characterizing it so that you can avoid um, expressing yourself. You know what I mean? Like, because obviously you don't have to buy clothes that have a big logo or name brand across them. You can spend lots of money on certain items that you can't tell necessarily who made it, and you can have stuff with big logo on it, and it so um but yeah, I think some people tend to characterize like any emphasis on a fashion sense is as superficial. And yeah, it's really interesting when I talk to people about these kinds of things, like, you know. So, all right, sorry, my brain just trailed off for a second.
Yeah, well, I mean, makes me think about how, as a feminist, there's a lot of there can be a lot of sense of conflict, between seeking aesthetic pleasure, through clothing as being anti-feminist, which
Mm,
is, I think the two can um, live in harmony. You can be concerned about the position of women in society and do things that are very much in keeping with a desire for women to have power and agency and a voice and still really enjoy clothing as a form of expression, as a joyful act, and also to use clothing as a kind of tool in a
mm,
way, that is it can be a politicized act, to
mm,
choose to wear what you want to wear
mhm,
and to know why,
mm,
that's important to you,
mhm,
and especially if it does give you power and agency, and it's not an oppressive act,
mhm,
and you're not involved or catering to um, rules or conventions that are oppressive to you as a woman. The same would go for any person, male, trans, however it is that clothing becomes an oppressive measure for you,
mm,
to kind of turn it around and then use it as a way to express yourself,
mhm,
becomes a very powerfully subversive act.
mm.
And so, if any, I mean, I would be willing to go out on a limb for as a proselytizer and to say that you can enjoy and take pleasure in clothing and still, as a politicized act, um, as a feminist gesture, as, a gesture of freedom.
Mhm. Interesting. Interesting. Um, I have something that I don't know, because as I walk around, well, it's kind of hard to tell. Like, Berlin definitely has a style. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, but it's still kind of within. This is quite Berlin. You know what I mean? And so it's really interesting to see, like, I just speaking on the political statement, that I almost feel like I see people having, I want to, the best way I can describe it as off-putting, intentionally off-putting, like, haircuts and stuff like this. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay. Like,
it's
okay, transgressive haircut,
transgressive.
transgressive style.
Okay, I'm gonna have to Google transgressive.
Well, that's how I would describe it. It's because I mean, um, sort of. I guess I'm thinking of artists who will be anti-aesthetic. It's not beautiful what they do. It's actually really grotesque and off-putting
Hmm.
for to say something very specific.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say Berlin has a very transgressive, kind of style aura, because I mean, I agree with you. Everyone's doing your own thing, but I do feel like there's kind of an edge, an edginess to kind of, um, and of course, I have to qualify this assessment by saying that I've always loved what I've loved about Berlin is kind of what it's been trying to say to the world for a long time. It's a place who are not, interested in the mainstream can feel good, can feel okay, can feel
Mhm.
at home.
Mhm.
So this kind of transgression becomes kind of normative in a certain, to a certain extent,
Mhm.
whereby everybody's it's not unusual to like have a tattoo on your face, and it's
Mhm.
not unusual, to be wearing very dangerous looking footwear or
Mhm.
whatever. Lots of metal and
Yeah.
pointy,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
potentially hazardous
Mhm.
ornamentation,
Yeah.
on your clothing.
Mhm.
That kind of edginess, or looking like, um, you know, maybe your evil coat can work really well.